YouTube. I have my son here with me, so if you hear any sounds, it's because he's here. He's kind of trying to fall asleep right now. Anyway, I wanted to do this video because being a new mom, I've definitely been looking around. I mean, on different websites and reading different things and people's experiences, being first-time moms and things like that. And as I was reading, there was a forum that basically was that people kind of just like vent on the forum. So one lady wrote a big title and said, "Oh, my husband doesn't help me with the baby." And of course, I was curious. I was like, I had to click that quick, like, what's going on? So in the video, she basically said that the husband doesn't really help much, and she's just frustrated. And then another person said the same thing, except for she said they're basically almost heading towards like a divorce kind of thing because she's fed up and nothing is getting better. Um, and then somebody replied and said, well, they're not going to help if you don't ask them. And that kind of really made me mad because I was like, I'm always a believer in common sense. There's certain things that should be common sense, and you shouldn't have to remind somebody. For example, okay, you have the baby, you're rocking a baby to sleep. If your husband is home or your boyfriend, there's a garbage that's full, I would think, okay, maybe I should pick up the garbage and help this person out. Um, you don't need to ask somebody to do that. So, yeah. So the different comments that were left in those forums kind of led me to do this video on this topic. And leave your comments below. I'm curious to know how helpful your husbands or your boyfriends were, especially when the baby came and things like that, when you had a baby versus like before, in your home. Like, how is it, a 50-50 thing, or do you not get help? Leave your comments. So first of all, I want to say I grew up in Africa, and at the time that I was growing up there, women were treated like crap basically, and a lot of men's view was they belong in the home, take care of kids, clean, cook, and do all that stuff. Like when the husband got home, you had to have the water ready so they can wash your hands to eat. And I saw that most of my life. And when I came to this country, I had a very negative view towards men. Some men, I want to say not all men. And because I was like, I don't see how anybody could be rude and talk to their wives in that way when they're contributing so much. While you're doing your stuff, you're working and making that money. Somebody's home and making sure that everything is okay at home. So I didn't understand why somebody didn't appreciate that. So I always thought, I don't know if I didn't know how I felt about marriage for a really long time. Even having kids in general, I really questioned a lot of stuff, especially like in my 20s. I started doubting, like, I don't know if I want kids, or I don't want to know if I want to get involved, because I was like, man, I don't want somebody who's going to treat me like that. Like, I need to be appreciated, and I'm a queen, and treat me that way. So I'm very fortunate to be here in this country. So yeah, that was what I saw. And from then, when we moved here, for example, like my dad had to adjust. My mom was working most of the time, so he had to like cook, his dinners and things like that. He didn't have a choice, so he had to cook, and even though he was helpful, he wasn't like the typical guys that were rude and all that, but he was, I'm an African guy, so his views were kind of almost similar in a way, but not so much because he was a teacher. So he was helpful, but when he got to this country, things changed, and most of my brother and sisters were working, so we were never home, and he basically learned how to cook his stuff and make sure that dinner was ready. Like he did his laundry and things like that, because that's just what happened. So with that, I saw that, and I was like, if I want to be involved, I always say to myself, like, if I wanted to be involved with somebody, they were definitely going to be helping. It's going to be a 50-50 partnership. It was not going to be like, or not even 50, just a helpful partnership where people are helping each other make dreams happen, and goals, and taking care of family, the home happen. So to me, when I was reading this stuff, it just kind of saddened me that it's almost like I had one of my classes where they said that women's work in the home is not respected. It definitely is not paid for. It's not paid. It's something you do, and there's really there's no pay for it, but it's hard work. And some men just view it as, you're staying home, you're doing nothing. That's how they see it, and they don't feel like they should give you any like credit or whatever. Like it's your job. Um, so reading that stuff just made me question, like, okay, how many people are really going through this? Is this something like, wow, is that serious, where people are considering divorce? Um, and I just read, I was shaking my head, I was reading, I'm like, Why not use common sense and help your woman or help your man? If your man is doing a lot of the stuff, why don't you help? What is the big deal of you come home, for example, and you want to play your video games, and your wife or woman has to go and ask you, oh, can you help me, when there's things to be done? Like if there's dishes in the sink and she's caught up doing something else, why would a guy not go and offer, okay, I'll do dishes and you do something else? What is that all about? Because I was really pissed off. I was like, there's no way, if I'm ever involved, like if I'm, with my boyfriend, like if we're to get married, and when we do move together and all those things, I'm definitely not going to be putting up with, okay, I'm only going to do this, I'm going to be playing video games, because that's not going to work. It's just not going to work. I'm going to, and I always make sure that, like, when I'm dating, I do keep those things in mind. I see how people behave. If we're not living together, when I was dating, I would make sure that I visited them as often as I can, where I got close and we saw each other's flaws, personalities, so that I saw where we're going and what their views were on things like housework, you know? Um, so yeah, that's what led me to this video. And I just think like we're at a different time where people are working like two jobs plus, they're going to school. There's a lot going on. Like if you have a partner, that you should be helping each other. It's not, oh, okay, I'm just not going to do dishes. That's just for women to do. It shouldn't be about that. It's about helping for the greater being of the home, of the family. So I just couldn't believe it, because I was like, now that I have a baby, I'm seeing things differently, because I see how hard it is to raise a kid and take care of a kid, especially newborns. It's pretty difficult. For some people who it's easy, I'm not talking to you. But for me, I just see like the sleepless nights and just trying to be the troubleshooter, and when things are going wrong, and just putting yourself basically last, to take care of someone. It's not easy. So I can only imagine, like, here you have somebody who has that a kind of a guy, for example, who might have that attitude where they don't want to help. I can only imagine how that must feel, you know, to be that frustrated. Like, okay, you're doing everything in the home and they're not touching a thing. They could be seeing stuff on the floor they won't sweep. You know, I just thought to myself, I was like, oh no, that would never work. That would never work right now with me. There's no way. Yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to share, my comments on it, my thoughts on that, because I just didn't believe that, you would think like places like Africa, where I used to see this happening, that it wouldn't happen here. But then again, in general, women's work is never respected, and it's um, people, some guys think it's easy and look down upon it, and then there's guys who go in 100%, and they're like, okay, what do you need me to do? I'm here, like, pick up the kids, or do I need to do laundry? What do I need to do? Because I've seen those wonderful guys around me, and I always said that's the kind of person I want in my life, who is willing, and it's just like, okay, what can I do next to help? And then there's people who are just like, okay, hanging out, like, okay, okay, if you don't ask me, oh well, you're fine. And we women have this habit of like taking on so much sometimes, that we'll say, okay, no, I got it. But really, sometimes you don't have to get it. That person next to you can get it and take care of something for you, take care of something while you try to do something. Or maybe just to have a little time to yourself. So I just wanted to do that video and just say that, if you guys out there who have those views, really change it, because it's just, it sucks to have kids in the home and trying to do a million things and you have no help. It really, really is hard. So anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.